and welcome to the what's now called the PS matrix, the professional services scope and compensation matrix. Well, the session is being recorded, and here we go. Well, project controls manual includes um, the new session for scope control or project scope. And in that section of the manual, it provides the information that we are expecting the project team to adhere to. It deals with the what each project should have, and that's in chapter 5 of our manual. Also, as part of the manual, you will find templates attached to it, and each of these templates are used to support the various aspects of the project. For instance, we have the project scope checklist, which we'll go through in a little while. And then we have, in addition to that, the scope and compensation matrix. And that was updated recently. And based upon a few questions that I've received so far, after this session, a new version will be updated later today or tomorrow, just to incorporate all the questions that are being asked if there's any changes required. So here, what chapter 5 tells us is about the scope of the project. The MBTA project manager should prepare a written scope statement. This is a requirement, and what we find is most times the project run into problems because the scope is not properly defined. And if we can provide proper definitions for our scope, we'll be able to manage the project properly, because now we'll know exactly what we're managing to. And with the requirement, the latest requirement that we baseline our projects, we want to ensure that we have a full scope that is ready to be baselined at the 30% level, which means that at that point, we've done the necessary reviews at the 30%. We've incorporated the comments, and we have tested everything, and then we can baseline the project. The project manager will work closely with MBTA project stakeholders to ensure that everything is set and ready. We should have scope definitions. We should have the assumptions and the exclusions and the constraint. And this is where we get into trouble sometimes, where we are not including all the constraints that affect the project. So it's important that at the outset, we look at all the aspects of the project and try to define or determine the constraints. And that would also help us to generate the project budget, because we'll be able to take into consideration all the components of the project that needs to be incorporated or priced out. And the project schedule. During the early phase of the project, we have the construction time determination schedule, and that helps us to determine the duration for the construction contract. That schedule will incorporate the full scope of the project. That means once the scope is defined, it should be reflected in our budget as well as in our schedule. We talked about the scope checklist, and you'll see the checklist in the attachments for the manual, and it's just a replica of the checklist, the matrix. And all it has is the list of the items that could be incorporated in that project. And so you would, the project manager will go through and fill in the top and do a check on all the items that they would consider relevant to that project. And from that, they can validate the full scope of the project. They can review that with the consultant, just a checklist to ensure that everything is covered. Any questions so far? Right. Moving right along. So we have the, yes, ma'am.
There is a question from Lloyd. Does this
Yes.
scope checklist apply to the project charter as well?
This checklist specifically relates to the matrix and not particularly to the charter. So all the items in the checklist are incorporated into the matrix.
Does that answer your question, Loie? You all set? Yep. Okay.
Yep. Looks, yeah, it's yeah, interesting. Yep.
Yeah. So these would be the items that would be incorporated in the contract itself, not necessarily the the submittals that are required for each stage of the contract, but the boilerplate of the contract and then some. Okay. The scope and compensation matrix that we have here, the PM has the responsibility for developing the ICE. And somebody raised their hand. Go ahead.
Sorry, Doctor. Yeah, just one quick question on that last spreadsheet or the last checklist. Is that one of the tabs that's on the it says PC scope? That's, I think that should be PS scope, but PC scope and compensation matrix document?
No, it's not. It's a separate document.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, it's a separate document that you would use to just highlight the items that should be incorporated in that contract or in that task, right? The reason why that file was saying PC scope and compensation matrix was just the process of getting the product completed. We've been working at this for more than a year now, and so the official name is now PS Matrix, and that's what went out in the communication from Sam. Is somebody saying something? Okay. So the PM should use the matrix to develop their ICE, and I'll go through in the demonstration how you go about that. But going forward, this would be the tool you'll use to help you to generate the ICE for the contract or the task. Right? The designer will complete their portion of it and get their sub-consultants to complete their section as well. The matrix includes several sub-consultant tabs that they can use to provide the information on their subs. I think I provided 10 tabs for sub-consultants, so should be more than enough, although some contracts might include a lot more. If that's the case, then that will be addressed separately. They can reach out to me and I can make the necessary adjustments. The Exhibit A that would normally be prepared separately is now incorporated into the matrix, and all the subs, Exhibit A is set to roll up into the prime Exhibit A. Now, I've noticed somebody had already prepared one of this matrix, and they prepared the Exhibit A separately, or had the sub-consultants prepare their Exhibit A separately and signed it so that we get a signed copy of the Exhibit A. However, the prime Exhibit A was included in the matrix. I think we are able to allow that for now until we work out some way that we can get the incorporation of the subs to sign their Exhibit A and include it in the matrix. Yes, Tom.
Courtney, for a long while, it's been a requirement that the ice is prepared prior to receiving the fee from the prime consultant. So does this process kind of change that dynamic?
No, it doesn't. It still remains the same, where the project manager is responsible for preparing the matrix in advance so that they have the costs and the hours. Now, if the project manager is having difficulty trying to determine the hours for a particular task, then you can reach out to your peers and get examples from them, or go back to some of their previous contracts that you've had. What were the hours associated with that particular task? And you can use that. You see, part of the reason of getting this matrix together is for just that reason. We'll have a database of hours, and we can prescribe what we expect for those times. Yes, Cheryl.
Hi, Courtney. So we will also have individual Exhibit As for the subs that roll up to the primes Exhibit A. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me expound on that. The matrix will develop the Exhibit A for each of the subs. The subs will then print out that section and sign it. So in reviewing the matrix for the contract, that's just one extra item that we'll have to look at to compare the Exhibit A provided separately with the Exhibit A in the matrix to ensure that they are the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Now we go into the matrix and walk you through the matrix. Let me
I have a
start.
question regarding the fixed fee that was mentioned before. So the fixed fee is a negotiation between the project manager and the consultant, and the project manager is the one who fills out the fixed fee paperwork. Is that correct?
The project manager determines the fixed fee amount, and that is based upon the matrix that's already in existence, where you determine the difficulty of the project and all of that. That hasn't changed. That process of determining the fixed fee hasn't changed, right? And that is what is incorporated here in the form. Okay.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
So starting at the first tab in the matrix, and when the project manager is going to develop their ICE, this is where they start. They would insert the information required here, and after they've completed the hours and the costs, they would sign that and submit this sheet for the for your ICE. Okay. you want to include the hour here, the duration of the task. I have some hours already selected here, but that's just the test number. The project manager must determine the number of days this task will be and input that information here as it says enter not duration. Once you get the proposal back from the project, from the consultant, then you would insert your estimate, your costs here and the hours, and that will show you the difference and help you to do your negotiation. Okay. This sheet is basically locked with the exception of these areas that you have to put an entry in, because this information is rolled up from the various tabs, the various exhibit A's. And that's how you know what the total cost will be based upon the roll up from each of these exhibit A's. And you'll know what the total hours will be also from the summary of the exhibit A's. The second tab is also a roll up that you can do to check, because this takes all the hours and costs from the various tabs and the sub-consultants. The information will be just transferred over from the various tabs. This tab is also locked because there is no need to edit any of this information. These are all formulas, and this will be updated as the information is inserted in the various tabs. And this is the same information on all the tabs, at least the first three columns here. The top is a duplicate, or the information supplied by the prime worksheet. That information comes directly from that prime worksheet. So once you fill that in, it appears here as well. Let me jump over these other tabs and go directly to the prime tab. Here, the prime consultant, well, if the project manager, you're inserting the information to develop your ICE, you can put the information here that needs to be used to identify the project. You know, the consultant you're using, the latest information you have for their overhead rates, you can insert that information here, and then you include the hours. Yes, I see a hand.
Do we request that overhead rate ahead of time? Or is there a database where we can draw this information off of?
You can request the overhead rate, but you can also get that from contract services.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Cheryl?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Where can the project manager request the overhead rates from
Yes, that's
contract
correct.
services? Yes.
Yes, and we actually, we have a database that we maintain, and we're in conversation with the audit and closeout group to see if we can make that public somewhere as a read only, so that you can access that and not have to reach out to individuals for that information. So more to come on that, but yes, it is available to folks, either through reaching out or a database that we hopefully can set up.
Okay. And most often that rate is 6 months behind where we are. So today, if you're trying to put a consultant, their overhead rate is probably going to be from the year 2023. Um, so later on, you might get an update. And this is something if you're a manager of a contract, you want to keep getting updates from your consultant. Once you completed the information here, then you can, and I did get a question this morning about the information being inserted here that also goes into this sheet where you put the rates for your disciplines. That is now corrected. Thank you for that question. On this sheet, you insert the names of the people that will be working on the contract and the role they play. This will then populate, I'm going to be jumping back and forth, populate this section of the matrix. You insert their rates here. And as you can see, that allows multiple people in the same category. So you get a blended rate. You can also include the escalation. This is one you can provide, whatever the escalation rate is that you're anticipating. And that will then calculate the escalation on the cost based upon the number of years that you are, or the escalation period that you're looking at. This blended rate then populates this rate here that is used to calculate the costs for each of these tasks. There are times when there is additional cost that is needed to be provided, and you have direct expense or some other direct costs. That information is provided here. I have a sample of items that can be included. And as you see, these can be populated here, and the calculation is already set and will tabulate in the various location. Now this form feeds into your Exhibit A, and it supplies the information here in your Exhibit A. So you don't have to go back and fill it out someplace else. It's populated there and then shows up in the right places on the form. This information on your Exhibit A is drawn from your matrix. It pulls it directly from your matrix and is populated here. The hours would be the total hours that is at the bottom of this sheet. So it tabulates all the hours for the discipline across all the tasks, and that's reflected here. Somebody has their hands up. Go ahead, Sandra.
Courtney,
Yes.
is there a way to make it, because you're going through all the different tabs, all the different worksheets. Is there a way to make it simple so that a project manager or the project office will know which tabs to input data and which tabs are calculations? Like, I know that I need to input this data on this tab, and it's going to populate this tab. So I do not need to even do anything with that tab, because we have a number of tabs here. And just to make it easier for those who are inputting the information, I think knowing which tabs to actually put the information in would be helpful. Do you get what I'm saying?
I totally get what you're saying, and that's why I'm going through the tabs the way I am, so that you will see what information you need to input. Okay, the tabs are locked. If you try to input something here, nothing happens because it's locked. So therefore, you know, this information is coming from someplace else. Places
Okay, so
where
they're
you,
color coded? The bottom one, the color coded is gonna tell me?
in most of the cases, yes.
Okay, okay.
And based upon that comment, I will go through and double check to make sure those non-input areas are color coded.
Thanks,
All right.
Courtney.
All right. So only the areas that are